Welcome to a new episode of Logos TV. I'm Michael Saad. Our topic today is the Shroud of Turin, or the linen from Egypt. Our guest today is Father Gawargious Kolta, Hegumen of the Church of St. John the Evangelist in Covina, California. Welcome, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker today to my program, Coptic Civilization. I'm honored and blessed.
Thank you.
Shroud of Turin. The shroud, the linen that our Lord Jesus Christ was buried in, and when he resurrected, the disciples saw that shroud folded and left in place where Christ laid. And after his resurrection, the shroud went around the world, from Jerusalem to places we are going to talk about it today, until it ended in Turin, in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. Was what the shroud was made of. It was made of linen. Was it made in Egypt or made somewhere else? We will find out the scientific truth about this. But let us read to get a biblical context of the shroud, how it came to become the most important and significant archaeological artifact of Christianity, the most investigated, the most that was exposed to scientific research. In 2,000 years, does it have the blood of Christ? Does it have the image of Christ? What is the authenticity? That's what we are going to talk about in the next 90 minutes. Of course, not only 90 minutes, but believe it or not, I love to spend the rest of my life contemplating and reading and watching videos about this shroud. It makes goosebumps in my body. I'm shivering in the presence of Christ by just talking about his shroud. Let us read a few verses from the Gospel of Matthew. After the crucifixion, when the evening was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. He went to Pilate, and Pilate ordered that Joseph would receive the body. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb. All the four Gospels speak about Joseph of Arimathea and the story of the linen. Father Gawargious,
yes,
you have been following this shroud for about 40 years.
Yeah.
And you are still interested, or even more and more interested in the subject.
Yeah.
How did it all start?
When I was in Britain, in Glasgow University, I was working as a visiting professor. And in 1978, I watched it in the BBC. And as normal, I said, this is something fake. I don't think that the cloth of burial of the Lord is still living till now. And I tried to watch and all the subjects that said about it. And finally, I bought the book that was written by Ian Wilson. It was very interesting, and I read it completely, and then I translate to Arabic and publish it. And 17,000 copies were sold, and I tried to republish again. Now it is now in the market. This is why I started to read about the Shroud from that time till now.
Yeah.
And I tried to read
Yeah.
about the Shroud, all the articles that was, and I bought many books, as you see here. I bought many books about the Shroud, and I read it, and very interesting subject, and strengthened the faith of many people.
Yes, wonderful. This perhaps have something to do with your education as a scientist, and you received a PhD in 1962 in the field of physical chemistry, which I guess most of the scientific research on the Shroud includes physics and chemistry.
Yeah.
But also your last job in the secular world, you were chair of the chemical metallurgy department at the National Research Center in Cairo, Egypt.
Yes.
And by the way, I also worked there. Perhaps during the period yourself was there, but only for a shorter period. I was there for 12 years, working in a different building than the chemical metallurgy department. And then after 27 years in the National Research Center, you were called to the priesthood in 1981 and became a priest at St. George and St. Anthony Church in Heliopolis, Cairo, until His Holiness Pope Shenouda called upon you to come to St. John Covina in 1989, to St. John Covina.
Yeah, 89, sorry.
Yeah.
89.
So this has to do with your education and your professional experience as a researcher and a leader of a group of researchers in chemistry. And then you went to University of Glasgow as a visiting professor, and it started there when the announcement came about the Shroud of Turin, and at that time it was the ownership and control transferred to the Roman Catholic Church. Let us watch video number 2 that will give us some background about the scientific investigation done by Professor Robert Buckman of UCLA, Anatomy Specialization. And the video will give us background and images of the Shroud. And by the way, Father Gawargious brought us this beautiful replica or image of the Shroud that we'll be watching and working from it the entire episode. Let us watch video number 2.
In the forehead and in the scalp is a series of blood stains, one of which has the configuration of a figure 3. These appear not only on the front part of the forehead, but also on the back part of the scalp and high at the vertex of the head. They were made by sharp pointed objects which have projected below the skin and produced bleeding. Their configuration is such that the implement was like a cap which rested on the head.
This wound, corresponding to a crown of thorns, probably more than any other, identifies the man as Jesus Christ. The Gospels state clearly that the soldiers invented this torture for him alone. It was certainly not normal Roman procedure. A forger would have included such wounds, but would have shown them, as all artists did, as a circlet. Instead, the whole head is covered, suggesting a rough clump of thorns. Almost certainly what actually happened. Yet one more graphic detail indicating the shroud's authenticity.
The third group of injuries involve the area of the wrist and the forearms. In the left wrist is what appears to be a blood stain which has resulted from a puncture-type wound of the left wrist. This stain has two divergent streams which extend downward. If the left arm is moved laterally to a position where these two divergent streams are vertical as a result of gravity, we have the position of the arm at the time of the flow of blood. The blood stains which appear on the forearms are also consistent with two angles of blood flow. An injury to this part of the wrist will invariably damage the median nerve, whose function is to flex the thumb across the palm. It's interesting to note that there are no thumbs in these images. The next group of injuries are those about the feet, and they can best be seen on the dorsal image. The imprint of the right foot is pretty clear, and the heel and the toe are well defined. The left foot is less well defined. The left heel is elevated higher than the right heel, suggesting that the left foot was on top of the right instep and that a single spike was used to impale the 2 feet together.
Crucifixion took many different forms, each carefully designed to provide a slow, lingering death. The wounds on the shroud, particularly the blood flows on the arms, make it possible to accurately reconstruct the form of crucifixion used and illustrate the awful technical realities. Firstly, the nails pierced the wrists, which, contrary to the imagination of artists down the centuries, is the only place that will take the weight of a body. Suspended only by the arms, the victim would die much too quickly, probably within minutes of suffocation. So the feet have been nailed to provide the support necessary to extend the agony. The divergent streams of blood indicate two distinct positions. In the first, the weight is mainly on the wrists, with the body slumped. In the second position, to avoid suffocation, some of the weight is transferred to the feet, raising the chest and altering the angle of the arms. Thus the victim was thrown from one excruciating pain to another until exhaustion overcame or the legs were broken. It is even possible to calculate the final position on the cross.
The last of the injuries is an apparent wound to the side. Here, in addition to a large outflow of blood from the heart, there is also evidence of another thin, watery type substance, which is best seen on the dorsal image, where blood has flowed across the lower part of the back and is separated from the heavier blood components. The markings on this image are so clear and so medically accurate that the pathological facts which they reflect concerning the suffering and death of the man depicted here are, in my opinion, beyond dispute.
That was Professor Robert Buckland of UCLA explaining the kinds of or groups of wounds and suffering of Christ. I'm shivering. It's very impressive.
Unbearable agony.
Unbearable agony. What does the shroud tell us about the wounds of Christ and his suffering?
Yeah. Actually, the Lord was covered with blood from head to feet. And you can find that the crown of thorns was not a ring, it was a helmet. And the veins and the arteries in the skull is too much. That's why his face was full of the blood. And you can see the blood falling everywhere, and there is a sign of number 3 in the forehead. That huge amount of blood came from him, not only from the nailing, but even from the head. And this made him couldn't stay longer on the cross. At the same time, the agony of breathing, it is unbearable that he has to push himself forward and lean a while to inhale and then to come again back. And the normal person can inhale 15 times a minute. The Lord stayed 180 minutes. And you calculate how he suffered just for inhaling, besides the wounds that was bleeding all the time.
And the shroud tell us all of the above.
Yes.
Along with the scourging,
Yeah.
whipping that he
Yes.
went.
Yes, we can
through, yes.
see that the scourging was done by two soldiers.
Yes.
One is taller,
Yeah.
and he is has a sadism because the lions came on his chest. Yeah, he was wiping him on the back.
Yes.
But it comes to and it ends by dumple of lead.
Yes.
And sometimes they have some not normal that when come hit the body, make bruises, big bruises. Imagine, and they count the number. Of course, he took 39 webs,
Yeah.
but actually he was scourging. When they counted the flags, they found it 117
On the shroud.
on the shroud.
Yes.
They found 117
Yeah.
because every rod has 3 ropes, and it ends by this dumbbell at the end.
Yes.
And we can see it.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see it here that the shape of this whips,
Yeah.
how it is. We must consider that the soldiers were violent.
Yes.
They found it something to amuse themselves. And the amount of blood that came from his body during scourging is too much.
So the shroud tells us about the wounds of Christ.
Yes.
What does it tell us about the resurrection of Christ?
Yeah.
Why this shroud is a miracle, is a mystery. When I Googled Shroud of Turin, hundreds of thousands of articles came about. It's no exaggeration. And they say, the scientists today say it's a mystery. We cannot replicate it. What does it mean? Why they cannot replicate it?
Actually, everything in the shroud is marvelous and not expected at all. That all these wounds are found in the shroud. All the wounds. Yani, you can imagine another miracle. When they pushed the spear in his body, on the right side, of course, when somebody's dead, the pump, the heart, is not working.
Yeah.
Why blood came out? It came out because it touched a vein, it's called superior vena cava, the only place where blood present pressure. This miracle.
The spear going through the body in that spot.
Yeah, imagine if you just move it
Yes.
a little bit, left, right, or up, down, small, half a degree, it will not touch this vein.
Yeah.
Even the soldier who pushed the spear in his body, it was by the hand, direct by God.
Yes. Yes.
That will come to this, that water and blood came out from his sides.
As the professor from UCLA showed us, the spot of the spear
Yeah.
in the side of the shroud, right?
Yeah.
All of these spots that shows on the shroud.
Yeah.
Where is the spear, you think, Father?
This is the blood
Yes.
that came from this.
Yeah.
But
And
you
where
didn't-
is the head of Christ?
The head of Christ here,
Yeah.
the face,
Yes.
and here is the
Back.
back
of the head.
forehead. Yeah,
Yeah.
the back. Yeah.
Because as we will see in the future pictures that we'll show soon, half the shroud was under Christ and the other half was wrapped around his head, going back the entire. So Christ occupied half of the shroud and the other half was above him. And to give you an idea about the shroud, it's about 3 meters long and 1 meter height.
4 meters
4 meters long
and 1.1 meter.
and 1.1 meter width.
Width, yeah.
Width. So that can cover, half of it can cover the
Yes,
Christ from the top. So that's how the wounds of the back and the wounds in the front show on the shroud. And tell us, Father, about the head. Is this the negative or the positive of the shroud?
This is the negative.
Okay. So the shroud, that was another miracle?
Yeah.
How did that miracle was discovered?
The man who took the first man who took picture, it was in 1892.
That's perhaps the first camera to be invented.
Yes. Voigtlander, it was invented, a big one.
Yeah.
And when he took the picture, he very new thing, very new. And he just went to develop it. Usually when he develop, he will see negative. He saw positive. And he cried. He cried with loud voice, "Now I see the face of Christ." Because,
In the negative film.
yeah, in the negative film.
So if he develops it, he will not see it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when printed,
Yeah.
it was negative again.
Wow.
Yeah, it was positive in the film,
Oh, yeah.
and when we printed, it was negative again.
Yeah.
And
So negative means black becomes white and
yes,
white becomes black.
Yes.
So if I am the negative of this picture of myself, I wouldn't show.
Yeah.
I will show either all black or all white, especially before colored cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're talking about 1820 something.
Yeah.
When
1892.
right, 1892.
Yes, it was
So-
just they discovered photography.
Right. Yeah, and they went to photograph the
how?
shroud.
And that's why you can't say that somebody, a forger, can
Yeah.
do it.
Yes.
Because they don't know photography.
Yes.
They know negative and positive.
Yeah. We will watch video number 1 to tell us about part of the journey of the shroud, especially in the last 600 years. Then we'll go back to 2000 after we watch the video number 1.
Also on the cloth are patches from an accident that befell it long before it came to Turin. when the Dukes of Savoy kept it on the other side of the Alps, in France, at Chambéry. This was then the capital of Savoy, and the shroud was kept here in the Sainte-Chapelle. A Duchess Margaret of Austria had bequeathed upon the shroud a silver casket, and to fit inside, the cloth had to be carefully folded several times. Then, in 1532, although the cloth was badly scarred, the image itself was virtually untouched, and nuns were able to sew in the patches visible to this day.
It's a miracle. Fire, silver melts, but the shroud does not get burned.
Yeah.
That's a miracle. Are these...
Make holes.
Yeah, please, Father, explain to us on this image.
Yes.
All the pieces.
Yes.
Where are the silver melting? Where is hands of Christ?
Yes. The shroud was folded 4 times.
Okay.
It has 16 layers. And you can see the biggest part that was burned here, while the smallest part here, there. Because when it's folded, we have 16, see, when you fold 4 times, you have 16 layers.
Yes, yes.
And what happened, this happened in 1532,
Yes.
the fire.
Yes,
In
France.
Chambéry Church.
Yeah.
And you can see here many things. Number one, you can see the nuns of St. Clair Nunnery, they made the repairs, these patches, in order to cover it. And the patches everywhere, because as I told you, it was 16 layers, and the image didn't burn at all. It's completely pure and perfect.
Yeah.
Only small things in the sides, and there are, as you see, there are lines here because it was folded.
That's like the miracle of the 3 holy youths in the fire.
Yeah.
In the book of Daniel.
Yeah.
They did not, and just the silver burning, but the linen does not burn.
Yeah.
It just God allowed the silver to just a witness
Yeah.
to the miracle.
It is a print
Yes.
that the shroud was in this fire
Yes.
in the year 1532.
Yes, yes.
It is a print
Yes.
that this shroud was present,
Yeah.
and not something made afterwards.
Right. Oh, okay. That is a
and
witness of the time.
Yes.
Where are the hands of Christ? The
The hands
video
of Christ
showed yeah.
here.
So they are crossed like this?
Yeah, crossed. Dr. Robert Buckland,
Yes.
when he saw only that the nail was here in the wrist,
Yes.
he knew that there are here 8 small bones. 8 small bones.
Yes.
And he said that how a nail,
Here is a nail.
yeah, this side, the nail,
Yes.
how this nail, when entered here
Yes.
and to the other side,
Yes.
the bones would be broken. But it's written in the Bible, his bones weren't broken. Then he brought a new dead man with he took the hand.
Recently, recent death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he made an experiment
Yeah.
and put this, and he just hit it very strong, it passed from other side. And then he tried to see. No bone was broken. This is called the stout cavity. And he found something interesting, that this finger came like this. And that's why you can see here only 4 fingers.
Yeah.
Only 4 fingers. And this is the place of the nail.
Because this is an anatomical or physiological
Yes,
product of the nail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is median curve called median nerve here.
The nerve makes this.
Yeah. When you touch the median nerve, it will be like this.
Yes.
The thumb will go inside.
And the shroud is a witness of that. Yeah.
And one very important, that many icons in Europe and everywhere, they put the shroud in the palm of the hand.
Yeah, that's wrong.
It's wrong.
Wrong.
Because
yeah.
there is no bones can carry them.
Yeah.
But the Roman soldiers, they know proper, because they did it several times. They killed so many people. They know that when they put it here, hands will be hanged properly, and not will fall.
Yes.
And that's why there's something very interesting. No forger can know this, because this happened. They knew it by anatomy.
Yes.
When they tried to see how there are only 4 fingers and the palm here inside.
Yeah. As we saw in the videos more clearly, the head of Christ and the back of his head showing in near the center of the shroud, the center both vertical and horizontal.
Yeah.
And the skull has the helmet full of thorns.
Yes,
and
we can
that
see
show. Did they make a test about the type of blood, about the hemoglobin, about?
Oh, before you can see the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see here.
On the screen, the control room. If you would show us the picture of Christ,
how his face was full of blood, coming from the veins of the head.
Yes.
And how the Lord lost huge amount of blood.
Yes, yes.
Before he passed away.
Yeah.
And your question, sorry?
Did the scientists examine scientifically the traces of blood? Because is it paint or is it blood?
Yes. I have a book here, very interesting book, the blood of the shroud.
The whole book is about the blood of the shroud.
Yes,
wow.
yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
God make plans, proper plans.
Yes,
because
of course. Yeah.
When we discovered the DNA, and this just happened 10 or 15 years ago, they used the same equipment for the blood of Christ. And they found that he is the blood of a man, and the type of the blood is AB.
It's not paint by a forger.
No, it contains hemoglobin.
Yes, yes.
There is no dyes or pigments at all in the shroud.
Yeah.
And
so it's a shroud of a real injured person.
Yes.
Severely injured, severely tortured.
Yeah.
And the blood is a witness to that. And what a blessing. What a blessing to hold or even to look at the image of the shroud of Christ with the divine blood on it, and dried over the years, right? And it's type AB.
Yeah.
And wow. What other scientific explanations you yourself you met one of those scientists, didn't you?
Yeah. You see, very interesting to see that 2 soldiers were whipping the Lord.
Yes.
One from the right, one from the left.
Yes.
And they were very very harsh with them, because all you can see here, even in his legs, there are slashes here.
Yeah.
And again, very important to see that the amount of blood that came from his head and from scourging is too much. When they put on his dress, the wounds were stuck with the cloth.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And when they went to crucify him, they removed the cross, the cloth. And imagine when you have any wound and just dry with the cloth, and you removed it, start bleeding again.
Yes.
This is how the agony, even when they remove his dress.
I can imagine, even if Christ was not crucified, he would have died out of scourging.
Yes.
Because 39 scourges,
Yeah.
whips,
Yeah.
and each whip has 3 metal or bones snatching from
Yeah,
his
yeah.
skin.
Yeah.
And all of that blood draining, he would have died anyway
Yeah.
without the cross.
Yeah.
Imagine the pain of the cross and the humiliation of the cross and the carrying the cross. My goodness, that's and the shroud is just another witness of all of the above, material witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And very important that there is 2 scientists, John and Eric. John Jackson and Eric
Eric Jumper. Yes.
and John Jackson, they used very sophisticated equipments that used in the satellites.
Space science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they discovered that the figure on the shroud is 3-dimensional.
Wow. Not a flat.
No. And you can see it here.
Yeah.
You can see it here. The face is 3-dimensional.
On the right side, in the middle of top, is a 3-dimensional face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, very important, they found by the electron microscope that they put coins on his eyes. And you can see the coins here. 2 coins.
Is
on
that
the
a
eyes.
Jewish
It's
habit?
a Jewish
Custom?
tradition.
Yeah.
To close the eyes by coins.
Yes.
And one of the experts tried to know how this was minted. And he found that is written Pontius Pilate. And this was in 32, in the year 32. An evidence to the authenticity of the shroud.
Yeah.
That they found these coins on the eyes.
Yes. The image of the coins.
Yes.
You met John Jackson, didn't you?
Yes.
How
Actually,
did that happen?
Yeah. A priest of Colorado, he asked me, can I take a vacation and to go away and you can take my place? I told him, okay, I'll go.
For one Sunday.
Yeah, one Sunday.
Yeah.
And Saturday evening, I prayed the Vesper and I met one of our friends from our church in Heliopolis, Dr. Yusuf Kamel, and he invited me to spend the night with him. And
Which year was that approximately?
1990 or 91.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I told him about the book that I published about the shroud. And he said, oh, my neighbor is John Jackson. I told him, please come call him now. I want to discuss with him important points. And John Jackson came, and I spoke about the shroud, and I read everything, and I told him that I watched his book. He made a book, Silent Witness. The book is called Silent Witness, and it is now in video.
So,
Silent Witness.
Silent Witness, that's a video.
Yeah.
That I can buy, say, from
DVD,
Amazon.com.
yes. Very, very, very clear.
Yeah.
He said everything about it.
Beautiful.
And
yeah.
I asked him, as a chemist, I want to ask you, how the image was formed in the shroud? How?
Especially that it is negative.
Yeah.
Not like a camera
Yeah,
photographing me. Yeah.
I asked him how this happened.
Yeah.
And he told me, do you want it scientifically or from a religious point of view? I told him both. He told me, scientifically, there is no any science to tell us that something print an image like this at all. Impossible.
It is impossible even up till today.
Yes.
When they speak about the shroud, the more they discover and run experiments, the more realize it's impossible to replicate.
Yeah.
Even with the most modern technology.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And,
he told you that personally.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Because in order to print such image,
Yeah.
it must be certain type of emission, like the gamma rays of the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And it will be in part of a second, because it was stronger, it will burn the cloth.
Yes.
It is part of second
Yes.
that printed this image. But how this rays came out from Jesus Christ? And he told me, now speak religiously, from the religious point of view, this is, he told me that, I believe this happened in that day, in that time, or the moment of his resurrection. The moment of his resurrection, a certain rays, not ultraviolet, not X-ray, nothing.
Not
Certain-
visible light, not infrared.
Nothing at all
yeah.
can do this.
Yeah.
And he said, this is evidence for the resurrection of the Lord. Not only crucifixion, but also his resurrection.
Resurrection.
That
yeah.
that there is certain light, certain rays.
Burst.
Yes,
Burst, yeah.
burst. And I said, I believe that it happened in the moment of his resurrection.
Strong burst of energy in
Yeah.
terms of some wavelength,
Yeah.
like gamma rays,
Yeah.
that would imprint
Yes.
on the shroud the negative of the face of
Yes.
Christ, which is a miracle and a
Yeah.
mystery by itself. And I read that they cannot replicate it now at
Impossible.
all. Theoretically, they need huge amount of energy in a very short period of time, like 1/100th of thousandth of the second, like a fraction, a very small, insignificant fraction of the second, but huge amount, billions of watts of energy. That's what the scientists
Yes.
realized that. And you met one of the scientists who discovered that.
Yeah.
If you allow us, Abuna, to watch video number 4 to see Professor John Jackson at the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs, who spent a good amount of his career
Yeah.
investigating the shroud.
Exact, yes.
Let us watch video number 4, part of it.
I thought that perhaps some of this technology could be applied to the shroud. So then when I was in Albuquerque, I started a rather modest attempt at this, and at that time I met Eric Jumper.
Well, the meeting that John refers to was about 3.5 years ago, and since that time we've made many interesting discoveries about the shroud. Right now we'd like to show you what we feel is one of the most interesting, and it involves the use of this machine. And we'd like to tell you exactly how it works. We already have 2 filters of different density lined up under the television camera that you see here. The television signal is then fed into our equipment, and you can see the filters displayed on our TV monitor.
And of course what you see are 2 squares of different shades of darkness. The television signal is processed by a VP8 image analyzer, which has the ability to translate the image patterns as adjustable levels of vertical relief on this monitor. Now watch what happens as I raise the relief. As you can see, the image intensity patterns are plotted as vertical relief in proportion to the amount of darkness that you see over here. I can also rotate the image and view it from various angles.
Now, before we put a picture of the shroud under the camera, let me show you something. I have here an ordinary photograph of myself in mess dress, one which I'm sure my mother would be very proud of. And I'm going to put this under the camera. Now, John is adjusting the gain in exactly the same way as he did with the squares. I'm sure you'll agree that even my mother would have trouble recognizing me there. Now, the reason for this is very simple. A normal photograph records only variations in light and does not record information about the distance the camera was from the subject. Now we'll put a picture of the shroud under the camera.
As you can see, unlike the photograph of Eric, this image is clearly recognizable. This can only be explained if the intensity levels of the shroud image itself are encoded with distance information from the cloth to the body. There are two interesting features which are revealed by this three-dimensional display. Firstly, there appears to be some kind of object which prevented an image from being formed. Note the depression around the face and the way the hair seems to drape over it. Even the beard appears to be divided by it. Perhaps this is the chin bandage.
And St. John also speaks of a napkin or sweat cloth or handkerchief that was over his head, or earlier described as round the face of Lazarus. And I think this is clearly functional. It was, as I understand it, a piece of cloth rather like this, which was then simply folded rather like a triangular bandage and made into a chin band, which would have been functionally necessary before rigor mortis set in to bind up the jaw in this sort of manner and tie over the top of the crown.
What we're now looking at is an image of the full body. We have an image of the front and one of the back. Of course, these are the burn marks, but what we're really interested in is the image between them. We see the head, the pectorals of the chest, the two arms, and the legs with one knee slightly raised. What's interesting is that the knee is not raised well above the chest or the head, but looks like it's in the correct dimensions. We see that the back also has the same characteristics, and we can even see a bit of roundedness in the calf.
Goosebumps. I really feel in the presence of Christ, in the presence of his passion, his suffering. And here science meets faith, or faith and science are hand in hand. And that's the purpose of our program, Coptic Civilization, to show Coptic spirituality manifest in Coptic civilization. And how this Shroud of Turin became a source of encouragement for faith when scientists are puzzled in front of this mystery, like we are puzzled in front of the mystery of the universe, the trillion stars, how the solar system works, how life exists on planet Earth. About 20 years ago, carbon-14 was used to examine the date of the shroud, and the fake media said, hallelujah, that carbon-14 showed the date of the shroud is 14th century. Therefore, it's a fake shroud, and it's some painter made a shroud, and they claimed it's Shroud of Jesus, and. Is that still the story ongoing?
Yes, when many people believe that this is the real shroud, they asked the Vatican to take small sample to see the lifetime of the cloth. And this was known by carbon-14. This was known by carbon-14. Yeah, it is another shop about carbon-14. You know, carbon is 12, but when it's carbon-14, it's isotope of carbon. And by time, the isotope disintegrates to carbon-12 and leaving 2 neutrons coming out. And these 2 neutrons you can measure by mass spectroscopy. Mass spectroscopy can see the amount of emission. All the creatures, they take carbon-14. First, it comes through carbon dioxide that was taken by the plants, and we eat the plants, and the animal eat the plants, and then carbon-14 came to our body. And of course, it stays in our body as soon as we are living. When the things are dead, the carbon-14 tries to decreases gradually from carbon-14 to carbon-12 with 2 neutrons emission, and you can know the date of the cloth, of the paper, of the or even the plant. You can know the date exactly by this mass spectroscopy. And they found that there were 2 schools from Tucson and from Switzerland and from Britain. And they took a sample, very small one, and divided into 3 portions, and they took their labs. And by this test, the same test was used in the 3 labs. And they found that the results that the cloth is from the between 1200 or 1400. Of course, the media was very happy that they are destroying the faith of people. And they reached to the time they said the Catholic Church is deceiving people. And in 1993, some people tried to burn the church where the shroud was. And there was hatred against the church because they deceive people. But John Paul said, this shroud is authentic, even what you say. Of course, the scientists didn't stop. Those who studied and they believe that is authentic, they start to work on it. And many people, there are negative proofs and positive proofs. I'll speak first about the negative proofs. That is very important to, it was said by John Jackson and others. They said that the shroud is made by a forger. It is impossible for a forger to draw a negative. Difficult. And they tried, some people draw negative. It was funny. Funny.
Yeah.
This number 2, the art of photography appeared in the 19th century, the last years of 19th century. How I can draw negative or positive. Number 3, they found there are Egyptian fibers, cotton fibers. And the cotton was known in Egypt. And most countries, they bought linen from Egypt. And it is written in the Bible here, in Ezekiel 27:7, of fine embroidered linen from Egypt was your sail, saving your banner. And there are many, in Leviticus also, they speak about the linen of Egypt. In Proverbs, I have spread my couch with covering, closed linen from Egyptian linen. Ezekiel, of course, many, that means many countries, they bought linen from Egypt. And they found there is cotton fiber, because there is what it used to weave the cloth of linen. They used before in weaving cotton. And number 4, the pollen grains. The forger doesn't know the meaning of pollen grains. But Max Fry, he is one of the best, one of the best physicians. He went and took 16 Scottish tapes and touched the shroud and said, leave it for me. And he went to his lab in Switzerland. Max Fry was one of the best forensic medical people. And he examined the pollen grains of, and he found, he went make trips to Jerusalem, to Turkey, to Greece, to France, and he found that there are 26 types of plants. Their pollen grains are in the shroud. And from this study, he made the route of the shroud from Jerusalem to Edessa, to Constantinople, to France, to Italy. From the pollen grains, the forger couldn't know the meaning of pollen grains in that time, Middle Age. Then also they found powder of aloe and myrrh powder that was used, material used during burying people. This is
Jewish,
Egyptian and
Jewish.
And Jewish.
Yeah.
The burial powder cover the body, and they found by the microscope this materials, the aloe and the myrrh, and also they found particles of calcium carbonate dust in the shroud, and this is only present in the caves of Jerusalem. And this found by the microscope, electron microscope. The forger can do this. The forger can do this.
Yeah.
Number 5, about the calcium carbonate. Number 6, about the man of the shroud, clear, well built, and consistent size. And he suffered a brutal treatment through scourging or crucifixion. And crucifixion was not known in the Middle Age. And even whipping the victims was not known in the Middle Age. Number 7.
So it's not a burial cloth of a Middle Ages person.
Of course.
It's the time of Christ.
Time of Christ. Yeah. Number 7.
So it's not painting, it's not forgery, it is not a real burial cloth of a different person.
Yes.
In any time except 2,000 years ago.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, most of the iconographer, when they draw the crucifixion, they put a ring of thorns. But here we can see that it is helmet.
Yeah.
The forger can do this.
He would have put a crown. A circular crown, not a helmet crown.
Yeah. Also, the nails. All the icons, they have the nails here.
Yeah.
Here, the skeleton supports the body. But here, we can see it is in the wrist. The forger can know this.
Yeah.
Can know this. It's different Turin, the Middle Age icons, all of it, you can see that the nail, as we saw here. Also, the feet was nailed with one nail. And this one is full of blood, the right one. And this is usually, there are most of the icons, they nail the two separately.
Separately, yeah.
But here, the forger can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it alone. Also, the blood that came from the side of the Lord, how they know that the spear touched the heart in a certain place? The forger can do it this. And also the cloth is very expensive cloth. Very expensive cloth. And it is written in the Bible that Joseph Arimathea, he is a rich man. Also, the body has no sign of decay. The Lord stayed 30 to 36 hours, but there is no sign of decay at all in the body. The researcher who found 2 coins on the eyes, this was only discovered by the microscope, and the microscope was not invented in the Middle Age. The forger can draw the marks of crucifixion without knowing the physiology to make this perfect drawing. Number 13, they found the feet has some dust. That means he wore barefoot. And the dust was also discovered by the microscope. The powder, burial powder, bowling greens, calcium carbonate, all things, they only found by the microscope. The microscope was invented in the 16th century. How the Middle Age can put this? The forger, how can the forger can differentiate between the blood that came from the arteries and the blood came off the veins? Because the blood that came from the nailing is different from the blood that came from his sides. And of course, how he doesn't know blood circulation?
Yes.
The forger.
Yeah.
Number 16, the theory of Earth's gravity, because the Lord moved his hands, his body, and there are two strips of blood coming by moving forward, backward to breathe. How can do these 2 things? That two lines of blood coming from the nails and the rest. And the Earth gravity was only invented in the year 1666. Also, how the forger know that the crucified man carried the cross, and when he carried the cross, there are in his back, there are through friction, there are bruises, many bruises in the back, because it is very heavy. They said it's about 180 pounds, just the horizontal beam.
Yeah.
And when he fell on the ground, and there are also bruises in the feet and the knees. How he knew this? Again, how can the forger can hide the thumb? This is something just new in the 20th century. Number 19, if there is a man that can make this, he will be a Superman. And how a man like this is not known? Huh?
Yeah.
Is not known, well-known person.
Yes.
Number 20, how can we ignore the historical records about how the shroud moved from Jerusalem to Edessa, to Constantinople, to France, and to Italy by the Polyngrains, the researcher,
Right.
Max Fry. Number 21, the DNA discovered just in the end of the 20th century. The DNA, he can say that this is a man, and the blood, actual blood, not paint, and the blood is AB, and is a man. And that's why by the end of this thing, the research said this is actually the resurrection of the Lord that made this image on the shroud. This is the negative.
Yeah, negative proofs.
Yes.
With your permission, we'll just watch a very short video showing Professor Max Fry, who studied the pollens on the shroud, and from which he discovered the route of the shroud over 2,000 years from Jerusalem to Italy. So, video number 3.
So, for the first time, Wilson had produced a chain of historical evidence which carried the shroud back to the one time and the one place it had to have been if it were genuinely the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. And that chain of evidence was considerably strengthened when Max Fry finally completed his identification.
Father, we'll come back to the positive proofs. But just because we just saw the route of the shroud from Jerusalem to Orpha. Orpha is in Turkey now, and then to Constantinople, and then to France, and then to Italy. Would you kindly, what brought the shroud from Jerusalem to Orpha? I know you mentioned the city of Edessa. Edessa was the capital of the kingdom of Orpha. Can you tell us why it went from Jerusalem to Edessa?
Actually, they found 3 letters in a box where the shroud was there in Edessa in the 6th century. What happened? King Abgar, he was the king of this area, Orpha. He had leprosy, and he heard that Jesus Christ cured many people who had leprosy. And he sent some people to ask him to come to Edessa to pray for him and heal him. Of course, the Lord didn't answer. The letter is this, number 1. The second letter, that when one of the disciples was preaching the gospel, he passed by Edessa, and they told Abgar that one of the disciples has the burial cross of the Lord. And they took him to the king. He put the shroud on him. He was cured. And Jesus Christ didn't cure him before, but he grew after by one of the disciples. And then he wrote a 3rd letter, the story that happened to him, and he told it to the people. What happened? The disciple disappeared. Maybe he was martyred, and he
in a different place.
Another place. He left. He asked him, "Can you leave this shroud to bless me, my palace?" He gave him, and he will return back. I can give back to you, but he didn't return back. Then Abgar took the shroud, put it in a casket, and put these 3 letters, and the shroud was completely unknown for 5 centuries.
Did Edessa become Christian?
He became Christian. All his kingdom, all the people, they became Christians. And they said that this is one of the countries that believed in Christ in the 1st century.
I read that the Bishop of Edessa attended the Nicene Council in 325 AD.
Yes.
So it became Christian very early on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And what happened? After 500 years, there was a flood, storm flood, destroyed the palace, and they wanted to repair it. And they found the casket fixed in a wall. They opened it, and they found the shroud.
And the three letters.
And the three letters.
Wow. Wow.
And then they made a big cathedral there,
Yeah.
and they put the shroud there. Afterwards, the invasion of the Arabs to Odessa, they controlled the shroud. And there was a fight between the Byzantines and the Arabs. And they tried to take, the Byzantines wanted to take the shroud. They asked the Arabs, can you give us the shroud and we'll give you gold? They said, no, you give us gold and 200 prisoners.
Prisoners of war.
Of the war.
Yeah.
War.
Yeah.
And they gave them the gold and the prisoners, and they took the shroud to Constantinople.
Yes.
And that's why Max Fry found pollen grains of plants that grow only in Constantinople.
Wow.
After this, when the Arabs invaded Turkey, the knights, it's called Templar Knights, they took the shroud in a boat to Cyprus, and from Cyprus to France. And it was transferred from one family to another family. It was sold finally to Savoy family, which is the king family of Italy, and they put it in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist.
In Turin.
In Turin.
Yeah.
This is the true route of the shroud from historical point of view and from the pollen grains. They are identical.
Yes. Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. This experience is both spiritual and historical and spiritual and biblical, and it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And as an act of worship, I invite the viewers to watch with us the hymn of Golgotha that we sing as Copts in the church on Good Friday to conclude the worship. Just a small portion of it, which says, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus took the body of Christ and buried it, and they sang, Holy, Holy, Holy. Let us watch video number 6, and let us consider this an opportunity of worship. The video is by St. Kirill Choir in London, led by Dr. Michael Hinain, and this particular event was in the Greek Orthodox Church and was attended by His Eminence Metropolitan Pachomius of Behyra in Egypt and the Greek Archbishop of London. Let us watch and worship together. We worship Christ, the crucified and resurrected. And in the 21st century, he's giving us even scientific evidence of his suffering and his resurrection. His resurrection is represented by this enormous amount of energy, unbelievable quantity of energy, billions of watts in a very short period of time, and that's why the image is caused, and it has no depth. It's just touching the surface, has no depth.
Only 3 fibers, but the rest, the back of the shroud, there is nothing.
No
Nothing.
image. Only in the very surface.
Yeah.
That's an electromagnetic phenomena.
Yeah.
Father, you said you give us the 20-some negative proofs.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us the positive
Yes.
proofs?
Of course, the scientists stayed 5 years studying the place from which the scientists of carbon-14 took the samples. And they concentrated, because the method is well known, perfect. Now, there's something wrong, the place. They took the samples from it.
The piece of cloth that they took from the shroud,
yes,
was the wrong piece.
Yeah, wrong. And Dr. Lino Garazza took samples secretly, and he studied from the same place and studied it under the microscope. He found that the fibers of the linen are covered by bioplastic layers that would give wrong enormous results. Bioplastic, the bioplastic that contains carbon, and that's why this was in 1994.
So this was like a contamination.
Covered.
Yeah, contamination.
All the fibers are covered by bioplastics.
Right.
Also, Dr. Harry Cove, San Antonio, Texas, USA, found the same thing. By the microscope, he discovered this covering of all the fibers of the shroud. Dr. Dmitry Konzikov is a Russian professor. He studied also, and he found, number one, there are some fats and proteins in the fibers. And fats and proteins, that means they are carbon. They are measuring not the carbon of the cloth, but measuring also the fats and proteins that in the fibers. He found also that there are very fine powder of carbon, free carbon, from when they try to extinguish the fire, they use water. And you can see here, if you look here, you can see that there are here the water containing carbon, and here around here also there are water, black from the
ashes
from
the fire of 1532.
Then you are not measuring the carbon of the cloth. No. 2,000 years, you are making the free carbon.
Right, that was added.
That was, then they completely wrong.
Right.
Also found that silver act as catalyst to enhance the reaction.
Yes.
And he used the same thing. He went to Jerusalem, and he took a linen cloth from the French church from Engadi. And he did the same thing, subjected to heat and silver, and found that this of the French church is from the 14th century. There's something wrong. This is the Russian professor, and an American said that there is something wrong happened in the study. Also, there are many researchers who found that there are certain material, binding material, present in certain parts, and these parts were from the back patches that was done in the shrouds. Then they took from the patches, not from the shrouds. And the statue was made in the year 1532, because vanillin was present in these patches, but not present the whole shroud. And this is the problem. This is the new scientists who did mirror work. There are still, if you go to the to see Google about the shroud, still research are done day by day.
I read it from Google search. As you said, so much new evidence comes every month, even in 2017. Yeah, please.
And they took the face of Christ from the shroud and tried to make some things important to his face.
Features.
About 16 features.
Right.
And they removed all the swallow checks and so on, and they found it is similar to this one.
Yes.
This one
is a famous icon.
This icon is from Egypt, from St. Catherine Monastery, the 6th century.
So it's the same time that shroud was discovered.
Yeah.
Wow.
That means the iconographer looked to the face of the Lord in the shroud, and then he made this one.
Yes.
From the 6th century. It is from the St. Catherine Monastery.
Yes.
Of course, St. Catherine is an Egyptian.
In Sinai.
She's an Egyptian. She was Alexander martyr.
Right. Definitely Coptic monks lived in that spot in the 6th century. So, I mean, Sinai was occupied by thousands of Coptic monks at the time. I wanted to, because our topic today is the Shroud of Turin, linen from Egypt. We spoke much about from the Old Testament, about the linen for Egypt, but if I want to show picture number 1, to tell you that the textile from Egypt is very important. That can we see on the this is from the tomb of Senendem and wife Linferti in the fields of Yarrow Paradise. This is in the tomb, and there is emphasis on what they are wearing in terms of plowing and harvesting of linen, and they dressed in white linen. So that's from ancient Egypt. Linen was very important in thousands of years in Egypt. If we see picture number 2, these are a book in English and the same book translated to French or vice versa by the author in 1990 about Coptic fabrics. And you see, a whole book is about Coptic fabrics. So that's no surprise that scientists find pollen on the shroud from Egypt. We see the next picture. When people, authors write about Coptic art, what they put on the cover of the book? Coptic textile. These 3 different books in French and in German about Coptic arts and the textile is on the page. If I may show the reader this book in my hand, it's edited by Mother Lois Farag, and the title is The Coptic Christian Heritage, History, Faith, and Culture. And there is a chapter about Coptic art, and a good part of it is about Coptic textile by Dr. Gaudat Gabra. And if you read it, you will find the importance of Coptic textile, and Coptic textile was the main source of national income for more than 1,000 or 2,000 years until perhaps the year 1800. And the Copts were the farmers who planted the linen and the weavers who produced the textile. Also, this book, Coptic Civilization, All of these books, you can find it on Amazon.com. The editor is Dr. Gaudat Gabra, and there is a whole chapter about Egyptian textile. And there is this chapter 18 about Egyptian textiles, and there is more than 100,000 pieces of Coptic textiles in museums around the world. And don't miss these books. You can buy it for yourself or give it as a gift to your children, your cousins, your parents, to read these fantastic books. That Coptic textile is only one chapter in this book, but it shows us that Joseph of Arimathea bought Egyptian textile, linen, cloth to bury Christ. And what an honor for us Copts to present to Christ a comforting cloth, a comforter on his death, and in the person of Joseph of Arimathea, who as a rich person donated his tomb and donated the cloth. Father, please give us a concluding remark about this wonderful episode about the Shroud of Turin, the Shroud of Christ's burial, the Christ burial clothing or cloth, and the shroud that is from Egypt.
Yeah. Actually, I want to say that the research in the 20th century and 21st century made many people who were non-believers knew about Christ, about his crucifixion and his resurrection. And there are many books now. Many scientists and many archaeologists, they believed that the Lord took our body, was crucified, and resurrected. And that's why I say that the research can be used to help the people to believe. But the Lord said it, blessed are those who believe without seeing. But very important to tell you that Ian Wilson, one of the writers about the shroud, he was non-believer. And after the research that was in 1978, he said, I am now a Catholic believer. How many people like this, when they read the research and what was done? I want to say that the Lord used the proper time when the science can use the best or the top of equipments to be evidence for his crucifixion and resurrection. That people can stay silent when they see it. And one of the most important videos is made by John Jackson, the Silent Witness. It is DVD declaring everything, all the research he has done with Eric Jumper.
Yes.
And there are many CDs also speaking about the shroud, and many books. And you can, the man of the pain, the Holy Shroud, all these books, you can find it. And if you want to read more, I can tell you something about 400 pages in the book of the Shroud of Turin that I published more than 35 years ago.
Are you updating it with new evidences?
Yes. I'm doing now the second part, the research that was between 1978 till 2016.
Yeah. We have been blessed by your appearance with us, Father Gawargious, and it has been quite an honor and a blessing for me and for Coptic Civilization program showing us the interaction and of between science and faith, between civilization and worship and spirituality. We are grateful.
Thank you.
And our viewers, if you like this program and Coptic Civilization and other programs on Logos TV, and you wanted Logos TV to continue its mission in the world, in both Arabic and in English, please consider donating to Logos TV. Call the number on the screen and make a donation using Visa card, or go to the website also on the screen, logoschannel.com, and there you can donate using Visa card. Make a monthly subscription for Logos TV. If you call now, Logos TV will take your name and give them your address, and we will send you this book, Coptic Icons, and it is in English, and we'll send it to you for any donation you may send. Any donation you make, you will receive this book in the mail. It's a collection of Coptic icons and small description under the icons. These are all historical icons from all over Egypt. And it's printed in good color, printed in Egypt. A very nice color, as you see. And you can enjoy reading it or giving it as a gift to somebody else. But call the number on the screen and make a donation of any amount. We thank you for watching and pray for success of this program, and which we also is repeated, broadcasting on tomorrow, Wednesday, at 2 a.m. and 12 noon Los Angeles time, and again repeated on Sunday at 12 noon Los Angeles time. Pray for my salvation and for the success of this program, and may God bless you abundantly. I'm Michael Saad.